and we are live for another biddle. What's happening, guys?
Hey, Rocco, how you doing?
Not much. We're looking at a freeze frame of one of our panel members in an airplane.
Well, we're going to be a few panel members short because there's a couple people that have already messaged me that said they're not going to be here. I think Ryan's one of them. Zeb is going to be out this week, so we're going to be a few short. Matt's traveling and obviously doesn't have a good connection, so
yeah,
we're going to be short.
So you're saying it's going to be a boring episode tonight?
Oh no! Oh no!
Hopefully not.
After last week, no.
Hey,
Derek.
how you doing, Derek? I don't know if you can hear
Hey,
us.
Derek.
Tell me he distro hopped and his sound settings are not correct.
Well, he can hear us at least.
It's the same thing for us, dude. It's the same thing.
Hang on. Mine was first go today. Mine was first
You're
go.
right, Colin. You did. You had it right on the go.
Yeah,
I was so shocked. I'm like, don't tell me you didn't distro. All right, I'm silencing my phone. What the heck? So, Derek, you get your sound working yet? Matt, do you have your sound working?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, it is working, actually. What's going
on? Right now, I'm somewhere up in Connecticut.
Hey, traveling, it doesn't bode well with Zoom, just so you know.
Why do you think my video is off currently?
Was it taking up too much connection?
No, it's called spotty bandwidth because of where I'm at in Connecticut.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're going to be a few members short, but we'll muddle through it. So, what have you been up to, Matt?
Packing and traveling today. You know, that's pretty much been my day.
Derek, you got your sound working?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Zoom's great, ain't it?
Well, I purposely have my mic muted when I first come in here, and every so often I do forget, but I purposely do that just in case there's something going on in the background. I don't want to blast you guys with some noise if my grandson's over or whatever. Yeah. So,
and I don't know why I don't remember this every week. The Yeti, don't choose the Yeti, choose the webcam as my microphone. So,
but you should be able to choose the Yeti. I don't understand why it's not working for you.
It won't let me.
I'm choosing the Yeti and it's working. I don't understand.
Yeah, my Yeti's working. I got a Yeti. Mine's working.
Well, it has to be choosing. Fine. I mean, it's using my Yeti, but I have to select my webcam as the microphone. Obviously, my webcam is not a microphone.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Within Zoom you're talking about? Or
within Zoom, it has my webcam listed as a microphone. And when I choose that, it works.
Oh.
It's strange.
The Yeti is not ready. The Yeti is not ready.
And when I choose the Yeti, it doesn't work. So I'm assuming the Yeti is probably my webcam in Zoom. So I don't know.
Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Her sound ain't working yet either.
How
come you don't distro hop, Barb? How can your sound not be working? Well, just so everybody knows, I took off the YouTube chat out of the screen of the stream because I had taken it off a couple weeks ago, and people had said, well, we can't view the chat in the stream then. We can't see it. But YouTube, when I got in here tonight, YouTube has a new feature somehow where you can replay the chat. So I took it off because it's not needed then. So just so everybody knows.
Okay.
And I thought it was because of the trolls.
Well, that too.
Yeah, I was going to say there's always the inherent risk if you have it up there and somebody says something you don't want everybody.
Yeah.
Still not working, Bob.
I mean, I get it. I mean, when you're rewatching the stream that's not live, it is difficult, especially when we start talking about things that are in the chat. And it is a little bit more exciting to see the chat. But like I said, if you can replay it through YouTube, then you don't really need to see it on the screen then. So, did you get it, Barb?
It doesn't sound like I got it.
You got it.
I got it.
You got it.
Barb, Barb,
Don't ask me why it didn't work. It was,
why doesn't it work? You don't distro hop.
No, I don't. I don't, and I don't understand why it wasn't working. But now it's working.
Well, actually, I unplug my Yeti every now and then from this system, which I've been doing all week. And I've plugged it in. It just worked. So I don't know how that happened. It was probably a fluke.
Yeah, I noticed when I had mine in here too, there was something I had to go in to specifically tweak or save the settings. It seemed like it took 2 or 3 tries, and finally I saved them, and it's been fine ever since. And like I said, I purposely leave my mic off, which I forget sometimes for those who just popped in, but because you never know about background noise or whatever. But then, you know, it's one click at the bottom corner and it's done. I still think Zoom works probably best on everything else you've tried for the most part.
I realize now with mine why it wasn't working was that it said join audio.
Yeah.
After I joined, normally I just join the chat, you know, join the video, and the audio also works. I had to click that too. Then you heard me.
Yep.
That's
Zoom
dumb.
is a little bit weird sometimes, but they are very good at support. Because I've had issues in the past and they've responded right away.
Yeah.
And just today, I sent an email to them asking them, because we use this for Destination Linux when we record, and I can't stand the fact that the green bar is around the window of whoever's talking.
Yep.
So I asked them, you know, hey, there's no option that I see. Is it somewhere I'm not seeing, or can you make it a feature request? And I got an email back within an hour saying it's not an option, but I'm going to submit it to the devs to be a feature request, so we'll see what we can do. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's good. Barbara, check your settings in Zoom itself.
Okay.
Because I had that same issue, and it might be checked by default to have your audio muted when you come in.
Okay.
Because that's what I discovered on mine.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Is Matt in a plane? Is he? Is he in a plane?
Plane or a bus?
No?
Train?
In a bus. In a
Train.
bus. Train.
Blink for yes.
Yes. No.
Trains and
or
automobiles. I thought it was an airplane, but yeah, it's a bus.
No, is it train or bus?
It's train.
Train.
I'm trying to keep myself muted from the background noise. So.
You don't really have that much background noise, though, dude.
You don't really have that many people there.
Don't hear you.
No, I really don't. That's
yeah.
No, the mic actually is not picking up a whole lot of background noise, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So,
No,
that's cool. A friend of mine went from well, she had to go to New York to get the train, but from New York to Orlando by train.
26 hours.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
But she loved it. She said it was better than by plane, where she'd have to keep transferring from Binghamton to transfer again in Wilkes-Barre and so on and so forth all the way down.
But yeah, it's been interesting using Linux on a Surface Pro on this adventure. So, you know, that's what it is.
Sounds like
what
they're
you're
pulling
using
the train
right
horn
now?
now.
Say what?
It sounds like that driver's getting a bit excited in there.
Yeah.
Actually.
Could hear the horn.
Yeah, I was just like.
Is that what you're using now, though?
No, I'm using my phone right now.
Oh, okay.
The internet's too spotty with the other one.
So, has anybody downloaded the 1804 builds of Ubuntu MATE?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen the full screen?
Yeah.
The full screen dashboard of Brisk?
No, but I've yes, I have. No, it's enabled on the Mutiny one, right?
Yep.
Yes, I have. I've only just installed over the top of it now because this morning the software boutique disappeared. there's no software boutique. It did an update and it's gone.
That's not supposed to happen.
I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work, dude.
Well, it's a nightly build, so anything, you know, there's no rules in a nightly build, is there? Anything can happen?
No, there's no rules.
I won't try it until the last beta is out.
Yes, it actually looks nice. I actually installed it because I think it was on the when I was running it live, it had an odd looking it didn't show all the apps, but when you install it, it actually it comes up with a dark, and it's dark, got a dark background. It looks quite nice. So it's actually quite impressive, actually, I must say. And it's got all the global menus set up and everything. So it looks pretty good.
Does it have the window tile manager thingy?
Window tile manager.
Yeah, they're supposed to have some kind of a window tiling ability.
Rocco, you know anything about that?
Yeah.
The MATE version's supposed to have it in 1804.
Yes, sorry, Barb. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, it does. Yes, because it goes to the quadrants and all that. Yeah,
right,
all right.
right.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention to the chat. Sorry. All right, now what did you say?
She just wanted to know if the window tile manager was working, which is the quadrants in the corners and that.
Yep.
Working all right.
And that's only in 1804. They don't have it in 1710.
No,
it's only in 1804.
They don't have a software boutique either, so.
I don't know. 1710 still has its software boutique.
I'm sure they're working on the software boutique. I think that's why it's probably gone out. They must be updating it.
Well, I guess 1.20 will be in 1804. A lot of changes in that. So a lot of good features getting put in that. So, and the tiling is one of them.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to be a member of Mensa to have nice little quadrants for and totally clutter up your desktop.
I know what Ryan would say if he was here, and he would say that's the easy way of doing it. But no, I don't. I don't need to use i3 to do tiling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Most floating window managers have some tiling capabilities anyway. So.
Yep.
KDE.
I couldn't do that. That would do my head in all this keyboard stuff, to be honest. I just like things nice and simple, really.
Yeah, that's how I am. I like things. It's like all the people have a gazillion icons on their desktop, which we know GNOME doesn't have.
Well, no, it does, because they're shipping with a older version of Nautilus.
Right, so they'll have it.
So they'll have it because it's actually it's working on mine. I'm running the nightly build at the moment, 1804. And there's desktop icons on there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think with MATE, you're going to still have desktop icons if you want them.
Yeah, mainline Ubuntu.
Yeah, because that's one of its features.
But you are going to have the option to do the minimal install in MATE.
That's right. In all of them, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah, in all of them. But
I think it's already in there because I downloaded the daily snapshot either yesterday or the day before, mainline Ubuntu. And it already had the option in the installer to do the minimal.
Oh, is that right?
It did.
Oh, I've got an older one, so I might have to download a new one then. Yeah,
when it asks you that screen of about third-party drivers, you also have an option to tick on about the minimal install. So
see, that's the one that I would probably do with every, no matter what I was installing, no matter what flavor, I would do the minimal install every time.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and then you can just put in what you want.
Yeah. Because even if I was going to run GNOME, I really don't like the GNOME apps. So.
Right.
Right.
Well, what do you think of Ubuntu MATE there, Derek?
I like the MATE desktop. The MATE desktop in general I like, but Ubuntu MATE is probably the most polished MATE desktop. Yeah,
I'll tell you what. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Derek, go on. I'll tell you what I noticed in MATE, Barb, was the actual, when I was on the mutiny setting, the actual the pinning of the app seems to be a lot better. They seem to pin in position better. I don't know if you've noticed that, Rocco, but they used to sort of, they look like they're better at pinning themselves in the distance and all that. With this,
the distance is okay, but they still don't have the icon size down right. Like the actual icon of the menu is smaller than the icon of the icons.
No.
So like you have your app icons, which is like say 48, and then you have the brisk menu icon that's like 32, and it just looks completely out of place. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But you should be able to adjust the icon size.
You can adjust the icon size of the apps, I believe, but not of the brisk menu.
Oh, okay.
I thought, I'm comparing to the one I have now. I've gone in and I've actually created, like I've got the same icon I have on the chat here, even in my screen. in the menu, and I went in and made my own little icon, and I made it a bigger size and dropped it in there.
Yeah, but I'm saying as a default for the distro, it should be it should look better than that. I mean, I love Ubuntu MATE. I'm just saying, those little tiny things bother me.
It's a nightly build, Rocco. It still could get in there.
Yeah.
You know? just keep
just stay with 1710 and be happy. Well, yeah, but
1710 had the same issue in the Mutiny.
I wasn't using Mutiny.
When I check out MATE,
I don't even know what I'm using.
I never use the Mutiny one. I always just do the standard old style GNOME 2 layout. And boy, does it really bring back memories. It seems like we've gone backwards in the last 10 years. You know, we're just coming back to where we were before, really, with MATE and Compiz effects and all that stuff.
Yep.
It's like just going back to 2008, you know.
I don't want jiggling windows. Sorry.
I like wobbly windows, Barb.
Yeah. You really do?
I like the exploding windows and drawing fire on the screen. I like all that.
No, you don't.
You like all the destructo stuff. Okay.
You like the little eyeballs that jump around?
No,
the spinning cube.
I had the little eyeballs up on my top panel for a while, and then they drove me crazy, so I got rid of them.
But it depends on how it's implemented. There are some things that have wobbly windows that they are so out of place. Like I'm running KDE Neon, and KDE has wobbly windows as an effect that you can just check and it's on. And the way they do it, the wobbliness, or however you would describe it, is perfect the way they have it. Other distributions, other window managers, when you try to enable wobbly windows, they're just all over the place, or they're so like jello that the whole screen starts. That's not for me. A little bit of wobble is awesome. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not bad then. But I tried them and I thought, nah.
The ones where you let go of the mouse and the window still keeps sliding. I hate that. You know.
No.
I'll tell you what the best effect is when you've got one of those annoying apps that are annoying you. You can set it on the window explodes when you close it. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Dave from Linux and other stuff. He's got all that fire effects and everything going on.
He's got all
yeah, I looked at some of the options, and all those crazy animations in Compiz, and it's like, nah. I tried some of them. Huh?
MATE doesn't have the Compiz settings.
You have to download it.
Yeah.
You have to install it. I installed it.
What Dave is doing, he does XFCE, but he installs the Compiz on XFCE and does all those effects. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's fun once in a while, but if I have to deal with that every day, all day long, it would drive me crazy.
Well, it's the same with Cairo Dock. You can have that kind of effect on the dock itself.
Oh, yes.
And some of them are okay, and some of them are just way too much. So
I don't mind if you're running your mouse over the icons in the dock. If the icons get a little bit larger for a moment, that's fine. But
but you can do all kinds of stuff.
I know. That's
snow effects and fire effects and all this other stuff. So that's a little bit too much.
I was going to say, speaking of someone using Cairo Dock currently, well,
Barbara, you went 1710?
1710, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't load Compiz in there, and it's in. Matter of fact, I think it was in one of the updates that I've got Compiz in there in mine. I don't run it because it just seems like there's things I can still get quirky with it. But
yeah, that's why the other thing I don't like about it. It's still a little bit unstable.
Some things go really well, and other things get kind of.
That's the big problem with Compiz. Things just don't work the way that the natural way that the distro was meant to work when you got Compiz on.
Well,
and yeah.
No, I agree.
No, I was sort of finished, Matt, so go ahead.
I was just going to simply say, like, my biggest issue with Compiz is that, like Michael's brought it up before, there's different versions of Compiz and where they've been forked and where they haven't, when they've been merged. And if you look at it like a strictly Ubuntu-based, Unity or GNOME, before they pulled off Unity, Compiz worked perfectly fine within that frame that they had built. But it's once you start going outside of that and start adding all the Unity repositories stuff.
One of the problems was before Canonical got involved with Compiz, it basically only had one developer forever. It was just one guy, and it became just a massive project for him. And it kind of got out of hand. Most of the plugins were not kept up to date, so a lot of them were always breaking and not getting fixed.
I think Compiz needs to be sort of worked in with the developers of that distro, so it's more native, isn't it? I think it's the best way it works.
Funny thing is, the one distro that I ran it on, that it ran pretty well on, was which now they're discontinued, was the Mint 17.3 KDE, and it actually ran pretty well on that.
Right.
And I think the KDE base, even on like a Kubuntu or something like that, I think it still ran, for whatever reason, ran better on that I found. So, but for whatever reason, in Mate, actually, it's better than what it was. It used to be, if I turn it on, it would completely distort everything. It looked like I was looking through a blurred window. And then, and every once in a while now, it still acts like that. So I just thought it's not worth the effort. I like the Genie window when it goes away and all, but just fancy and pretty is it
if
really
you use
necessary?
KDE, it's built in.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm looking at putting an operating system on my daughter's laptop. It's only a low-end spec laptop. It's a 1.6 gigahertz. Can't remember which one it was, with 4 gig of RAM. I was running Deepin, and that was running on a cold boot 1.1 gig. But then I put Plasma in, and Plasma was running at 330 meg. So that Plasma desktop these days is running pretty awesomely low on resources, I must say. And that myth that it runs, it's only for, computers at high end is being busted as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, totally, man. I mean, that was a myth long ago. And maybe back in, 3.5 days, 4 days, it was probably,
I think so,
truer than not. But right now, it runs just as good as anything else out there. Even better on most things.
Really.
Although Chip in the chat probably won't agree, because he had some choice words for KD Neon.
Well, you can get things like OpenBox. Yeah, you can get things like OpenBox that run 100 megs of memory. You can get that way down just using a bare bones window manager, depending on how low you need to go.
I like a bit of bling, Derek. Got to have a bit of bling.
A bit.
Install a compositor, and you're good to
go. Well, my question is, when we talk about getting the memory down and everything, like how important is that nowadays? Like, yes, if you have an older computer, like Colin's talking about, you want to get it down as low as you can, but like on most computers today, like I got 16 gigabytes of RAM. I don't need to run something that's runs only 200 megabytes,
For people like us, it's important because if you're like me, I've got computers in my closet that are 12 years old, 15 years old, and I can install something like Ubuntu on those that I couldn't install Windows XP on 15 years ago.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, I just looked. I'm running 3.3 gigs, 6 gigs right now.
Let's see. With all the stuff that I have going, I've got Telegram in the background, two tabs open in Firefox, and Zoom. I am using about 1.9 gigs out of 16 in RAM.
Yeah, you're doing better than mine is.
Yeah, well,
and that's Ubuntu MATE.
I'm running KDE Neon, and I'm running at 5 gigabytes of RAM right now. But that's with streaming, OBS, YouTube, and everything else, Zoom running. So normally I'm under 1 gigabyte, and if I got 16, I don't really care if it's 1, 2, or 3. You know what I mean? If you got it, then it really doesn't matter.
Well, one thing that I've noticed is, because I also run Gecko Linux with the Mate desktop, and I'm using the Tumbleweed, which is the rolling release. And that one uses, for the same things being open, it uses less RAM.
It depends on the services.
Huh?
It depends on the background services. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the way maybe OpenSUSE is a little bit better in terms of managing memory.
So Rocco, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
You're saying KDE is running better than pretty much any desktop currently. How would you compare it to GNOME as far in your experience?
In my experience, KDE Neon runs less resources than GNOME. It runs way better. It boots up faster.
Absolutely.
And all across the board, whether I'm streaming or not streaming, it runs way better.
Yeah.
Now, it does have a tendency to crash every once in a while, like Software Center and that. But as far as running resources wise, it's way better than GNOME.
Yeah. GNOME is heavier than the rest for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And Cinnamon is not light either.
No, I like Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Cinnamon was one of those desktop environments that was kind of like always the really good in between. It was not as configurable as KDE, but it was way more configurable than other ones. And you had all kinds of cool settings in it, you know, like things that were not present before, where you'd have to go into the decomp editor to change. Like if you wanted your close buttons on the left or the right, or you wanted to remove one, they were settings right in Cinnamon that you could just remove what you wanted and put what you wanted. That was awesome. But I do agree that it does run a little bit heavy, especially nowadays.
It's always going to push at least 1 gig of RAM. That's the way it is. Same with GNOME, always. It's hard to get. You might get it down to 800 megs if you just strip it way down. But
yep.
So there's a new, I don't know if you've seen, Rocco, there's a new theme coming out for GTK theme.
What is it?
Called Origin. ARRONGIN.
I did see it.
You're welcome.
You might want to have a look at that. Sorry?
No, I did see it.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
It's not a bad theme, actually.
I was going to say, I think I sent you that link, didn't I, Rocco?
Yeah.
I think the theme looked really good, actually, for what it is, GTK or not. And I'm usually not a GTK guy, but it looks really good.
See, this is the one problem with running KDE. GTK themes don't really work too well on it.
Well, obviously. GTK themes aren't going to work, but hey, guess what? The KDE themes on GTK apps are going to work really good.
Yeah. Well, hey.
I'm still installing GTK2 themes on, like my OpenBox setup. So I just avoid GTK3 apps completely.
See, I think that people who've been using Linux for a while, like you, Derek, are okay with the GNOME 2 look, are okay with desktops like OpenBox. Right. It's the people like me who came in a little bit after that, wanted the as Colin puts it, wants a little bling with it. So we're not as comfortable with the old style. So I prefer GNOME 3 or GNOME now as opposed to a GNOME 2.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, all you had when I started, the options were GNOME 2 and KDE 3. And that's all basically you had, other than like really minimal window management.
I was going to say, hey, Derek, at least you had KDE 3. I remember running Mandrake with KDE 2.
Yeah, I think I came along and I started using KDE at 3.5. So
yeah, that was where they killed it.
Yep, pretty much.
Actually, 3 became Trinity.
3 wasn't bad, but when they just switched to 4, they just killed it. I mean, that was so terrible.
Well, one of the transition from 3 to 4 was the killing off of a lot of technology and a bad messaging from distros, not so much KDE. But distros shipping it like OpenSUSE. Oh, it's version 4. It's ready. No, it's broken in the development.
No, it's totally not ready. It was so not ready.
Well, Fedora did that with GNOME 3. I mean, Fedora should not have shipped GNOME 3 the way it initially was either. So,
well, I haven't used KDE as much as what I have just recently. It's the best I've probably seen it. I like it better now than what it ever has been. It just put me off before, but having jumped from the GNOME desktop to KDE to Budgie, they seem to be my 3 main go-to desktop environments at the moment. I'd really love to see Budgie Budgie's very simplistic, Setting up your panels and placing your panels is so much easier than KDE. Spaces and everything so much easier to deal with. If it just had a K-win in the background, would top it off.
Yeah, and
just top it off.
If Budgie had a little bit better multi-monitor support, I'd probably be running it, because I agree. I think Budgie is doing good things. I think it's the best full desktop environment out there right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still, you know what it is with Budgie? It looks great, and it works fine. And I could run it for a few weeks, and then I would probably get to the point where it's like, well, I want to change this and I can't, or I want to do that. It doesn't have the settings that other distros have, and that's what ends up being like the menu. I really, really don't care for the menu itself, and that's the only menu option. Yeah.
But you see, a lot of computer users are not. They're presented with something and they never change a thing. Maybe the wallpaper.
I agree.
That's
with
about
that.
all they change. I don't even change fonts.
That's a fair call. Yeah, I have to say. I mean, even my daughter. I mean, she's only 21, but she just likes to do things with the Windows, the window workflow. And she doesn't care about anything else. Whereas me, I'm going, I reckon she might like this and might like that. Nah.
For most computer users, all they need to know is where's Google and where's the face page. That's all they want to know.
And where's YouTube?
And how do I shut it off?
They don't even like turning it off these days. They just shut the desktop and that's it, done deal most of the time. So I mean, it's amazing the perspective we look at it, and then the way people use it. They're just like minimal, start button. They're touching on the
really simple to use. Is what
they
want.
Do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's most
just
people.
Touching on the Budgie desktop. I'm still waiting for 11, because I'm hoping that 11 will have a lot more tweakability with running with the Qt. It's going to be running with Qt, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, they're changing to the Qt toolkit. I don't know if it'll be in the next one, but they plan on changing.
I don't think
it's going to be in Solus 4.
No. I think I read somewhere or something that it's not going to be in Solus 4.
Yeah.
It'll be like Budgie 10.4 or something like that. That's how they're going to refer to it.
Yeah, but it won't be that far off.
No, it's going to be on the way. Yeah, but it won't have all the features.
But
I'm just looking at the window.
I believe it's going to give a lot more flexibility in changing menus and changing things that, as far as tweaking goes, with running under the Qt. That's all. I don't know much about the background of it all, but I believe that'll happen. So I did say on my main computer I was running Budgie for probably 12 months, and then I said I'm not going back to it until it becomes 11. So I've been waiting for quite a while now. So I don't know when that's coming out. But in the meantime, we'll just try everything else.
Yep. So everybody hear about Arch Merge changing to Arco?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? Is this something that, I mean, I love Eric Dubois' work, but is this too much change or what?
I think it's better branding to get rid of Arch out of your name. You know, it's kind of confusing to have so many Arch-based distros and all of them put Arch in the name. They're all using the same logo practically. So I like that he's switching the name up. I think for branding purposes, it's a good idea.
Sorry, what name is he using now?
Arco Linux.
Yeah.
ARCO. Arco.
Oh, okay. No,
so
I didn't
the
see
website is arcolinux.info if you want to look at
Oh,
it.
yeah, I'll have a look. Yeah.
So if you go to Arch Merge, it just redirects you.
Also, it was confusing Arch Merge, and then you had Arch Merged with a D.
Yeah.
That was very confusing.
Yeah. So I think he's making the right choice by
and I think also the name Merge in there is kind of confusing.
Yeah, it made sense.
What is it merging with? I think that was...
He was merging 3 different desktop environments, XFCE, i3, and OpenBox, but also, he's got other additions. So
yeah. I think they're going to have now 8 different desktop environments from what I read.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're going to be growing too. So,
but he's still keeping the same idea that he's using it as a learning tool. So phase 1, you've got whatever desktop you want. Phase 2 is more involved in phase 3 and so on.
The last phase is an install mainline Arch and forget about Arco.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really mess around with Arch Linux that much, but any Arch-based distro, because I tend to stick with the distros where new users would use. Mm-hmm. So I don't tend to mess around with Arch Linux that much, but and the reason being is because they got the what can you say? They've been known to break.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons why I don't use it. So
I'm running Manjaro on my main machine, and I have people ask me all the time, do I recommend Manjaro to new users? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. No new Linux user needs to run a rolling release distro.
No.
Yeah. No. Because things are going to break, 100% guaranteed. Something's going to break. Mm-hmm. And if you're brand new, you have no idea how to fix anything. So,
well, it's like, I think that's one of the reasons why Ubuntu is so appealing to people. Cat, go away. Thank you. Yeah, part of the comic relief, you know. He's been on my lap for like half an hour. One of the things is why Ubuntu is so appealing to people is that it works, it makes sense, it's reliable, it's stable. I mean, and you can go into the software center and find what you're looking for. They've got like nice little pictures of what it is, and they're nicely categorized. Whereas like the other distro that I run is Gecko with Tumbleweed. And yeah, it's really good, but I would never recommend it to a first-time user. Mm-hmm. Their software manager is it's like using Synaptic. Yeah. And that to me is klutzy. You know, that's not if they're coming from Windows, they're coming from Mac, they're used to seeing a more graphical software center.
Well, you can honestly say, though, that about 90% of the graphical software centers in Linux are not very well made.
No, none of them are. The Deepin one is okay, but...
I was going to say, the only one that's pretty is the Deepin one. As far as functionality, it's not even close.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the software boutique in Mate is nice because you can queue them all up and then just install them.
Yeah, Discover is not very good.
Huh?
Discover isn't that the one in KDE is not good. The GNOME soft. Yeah,
it's a lot better now, Derek. Discover. Mm-hmm. Discover is working much better now. Okay. I'm running that, and it's hardly crashes. It searches for everything you look for. It doesn't have much issues anymore. So I think they're really working hard on fixing that. Yeah.
But you're talking about people coming from Windows over this too. If you think about Windows, other than now what Windows 10 and their App Center, the truth of the matter is we have the software capability to just go into a center and grab what you want and load it. You always had to go buy it, or you had to go somewhere and download it or whatever, somewhere else. Here, I mean, that's the beauty of Linux. And I think if you're trying to get somebody to come over to this, it's not, there's this tendency to always talk because people are used to Windows and wanting to appease them. But the truth of the matter is you got to treat it like its own animal and just say, much like switching when Windows upgraded and there was a new type of platform, look at this, different than Mac and different, this is its own thing. You can make it look like that if that's what your preference is, but here's what it is and here's the features and benefits. Instead of focusing on the downsides of something, you focus on the positives and what it can do for you. And then based on what people's uses are, it's no different than anything. When you build a computer, you build it based on your use, what you're going to do, how beefy you want it, or the car you buy, how many added features you. So that's the way I kind of look at it. And I think that's the one thing that I think if I get frustrated about anything, because I try to get people over. I've been getting more and more people to come over, but I approach it with the idea or the presentation that, this is not a Windows type program. You can make it look like that aesthetically, but it has, a lot of people think that, well, I heard it doesn't work with anything. Well, what are you doing? 90%, well, probably even 95% of the people out there say, well, I just want to surf the web, or I want to be able to write a letter to somebody, or I want to be able to get on Facebook. Well, it'll do all those things. Now if you're into Photoshop, there's similar type programs. If you're used to Photoshop, it's going to be a learning curve. Everything has a learning curve, that kind of thing. So, it's just trying to show the positive side of it. And the benefits to the differences, I guess, is how I would approach it.
I think a lot of these distros would be better if they created, instead of a software center, like a standalone app, just do it all from the web browser. I mean, you already got all your repos and stuff on the web. Just bring them to a web page, let them click a link, and that opens up, you know.
I was going to say, isn't that kind of what Bodhi does with like its packages and stuff?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
I have a nice and I started having some issues. I thought, well, okay, so that's why I was starting to wonder if it was just on my end, but it seems like some of the comments, it sounds like it's there's something going on with the stream here. So
yeah, hopefully we're back. So continue on.
Well, I was going to say that the Ubuntu Software Center, since we're talking about software centers, for me, it just never ever. I know they've updated it and they've sort of fixed it up, but still, just to me, it seems clunky still. Yeah. I don't know what you think, Rocco, but to me, it just seems still clunky.
Well, I haven't tried it in the last couple months, and I haven't tried it in the new daily builds, but I was never a big fan of the best software center out there to me is like Elementary or the Pop Shop Software Center. So the other ones have good things about them, and like certain features about them are good. But you're right. The Ubuntu one seems a little bit not so much. So
I think it's better than it was.
It is better than it was. It's not as slow to start up. It's not as slow.
But it does one really weird thing when you install Ubuntu, or at least with Mate. I don't know. Maybe it's just my system. But anyway, you install it. You get all the stuff you want off the software boutique. Then go over to the Ubuntu Software Center, which you have to download. And the first time you call it up, there's nothing there other than what we recommend. And sometimes you have to like reboot your machine several times before you get the complete list. And then once you get it, finally get it, it's okay.
Yeah, it seems to be very slow loading as well. It's just I don't know.
Populating the list.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know from my personal experience when I use app stores on Ubuntu, I usually actually use AppGrid personally because I can't stand the generic Ubuntu software center.
AppGrid has a nice layout, but the images take forever to load.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
like you open it up and you see, and they're just loading one by one. It's almost like the internet from the 90s, you know.
Hey guys, the people in the chat are mentioning the stream is still having problems. I don't know about y'all. I'm watching Zoom and it's all right, but I'm not actually watching the stream, so we may be having some buffering issues in YouTube.
Yeah, we're buffering.
Yeah,
maybe it's YouTube.
I'm not showing it right now as far as buffering. So
as I'm just watching. I'm watching the Zoom window. Everything looks good here. I mean, I'm not seeing anything. Yeah.
I just ran a speed test and I'm normal, so it's not my internet connection. I don't know what it is. And every once in a while, there's a little cutout on Zoom, but it's not bad. But YouTube.
But then you start sounding like you're talking in a bubble.
Yeah, you're the only one that's doing that, though, Joe. Like you're sounding like Colin sometimes.
I wonder if I should jump out and jump back in. I don't know if that'll help anything or not.
I don't know, but the stream is running like through OBS. It's running at 3,000 kilobytes, so it's steady.
Tim F just said it's YouTube. He said he thinks it's YouTube, but if it's just me on your end, I don't know.
I did actually double my speed, actually, Rocco. Believe it or not, my internet
did you?
Speed. Yeah.
So you're up to like a meg.
A little bit more than that, but
okay, all right. I'm just teasing you, man.
Yeah, I know. What I realized was I was having so much issues with internet. I ended up ringing my provider, and the guy said, "Well, if you log in, you can actually change the performance." And I said, "Really? How come I haven't known this before?" You know. So I did a small change and nothing changed. So I just went, that's it. I'm choosing the highest one. I don't care what it does. I'm just going to choose it. And it actually doubled my internet speed. So I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. That's probably why I haven't been. Is my voice still sort of in and out, is it, when I talk?
Once in a while.
Once in a while. Okay.
Yep. It's definitely not as bad as it usually is.
Okay. All right. That's good.
And there seems to be some, like, a little bit of stutter in the video.
Oh, was there?
Mm-hmm. At least from at my end, from what I'm
through
seeing.
Zoom, yeah. Yep.
I'll try and sit still then.
Nobody will notice, right?
It's all Matt's fault. He's in that tin can. And
Yeah, he's draining the bandwidth.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah, sure. Blame it on the guy who's traveling to be.
well, you're moving at what, 200 miles an hour, right?
I wish it was a bullet train. Trip would be a whole lot quicker. It's
all right. So, did anybody try out Swag Arch? Has anybody tried that yet?
I've used it before, but I haven't checked out this latest snapshot of it. But I like Swag. It's, if you like XFCE and you like Arch, it's kind of the way to go.
So is there anything like, okay, between, say, Intergos and Swag Arch, is there anything that would draw me to Swag Arch then?
Swag Arch is basically like Intergo. It's 100% Arch underneath. I mean, they don't hold anything back. It's completely compatible with Arch and the AUR, and that's the problem with all these Arch-based distros. When I was talking about there's a million Arch-based distros, is they all do the same thing. So many of them do. They really should combine resources. You don't need 15 different XFCE Arch-based distros. You know, same thing with all the Ubuntu-based distros and the Debian-based distros. How many Ubuntu-based distros do we need that run, you know, KDE? You know, so.
Right.
Eric, how dare you do that? We don't do that.
Well, I'm going to get back to that whole KDE thing, running different ones. But Chicken,
Hi.
What do you have?
I have a dog.
Oh my
Oh, he's
gosh,
so cute.
he is awesome.
Aw. Now that is cute. But pretty soon he's going to be too big and you won't be able to pick him up.
Oh, he's already just biting everything. He's just chewing on everything.
So, how's the sleeping going? How's the sleeping going?
Who's sleeping?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He doesn't sleep anyway. He's always.
I'm sure he doesn't sleep.
Right, he doesn't
sleep through the night.
Yeah.
Chicken, can I ask you? You still got everything on elementary except your girlfriend's laptop, I think, or something.
I do,
like that?
yeah.
I'm just installing elementary as we speak.
Nice. How's it going?
Well, I've just got it installed, so I haven't done anything with it because I'm chatting here. So I'll wait till I've finished here. But I just want.
You're already winning.
Well, you're installing it on all your computers at home, and EB was talking it up quite a fair bit. So I thought maybe I've missed something with elementary. I don't know. So I want to have another look. But definitely, there's a lot. There's a few things to do to get it up to speed, though, isn't there? Definitely in the command line.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing that concerns me as a new user. I mean, are they counting on people just using the software center solely and nothing else? I would say that's what it is, because if you want
that in a way, one good thing though is that the Stack Exchange, like the Ask Elementary page, is really good. Like every question I've ever had about it has pretty much already been answered there.
Right.
But yeah, it does still require a bit of manual intervention to get a few things that are
and that's always been my gripe with elementary, to be honest. It's a nice distro and I have nothing against it whatsoever, and but for new users I just don't see why you have to have all these other things in place. As far as to have to install things through the command line for new users, they're not going to do it. So I just wonder how they get along. Do they just use the standard internet browser that comes with it? Can you install Google through the App Store? I don't know.
You can install Chrome through the App Store, but you can install Firefox and whatnot, and Chromium.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chrome. Okay. Who wants to use Chrome? That's proprietary garbage. I mean,
I use Chrome.
I love my garbage.
I'm actually using Firefox at the moment, but I've used Chrome in the past. So.
No, I use Chrome. I always use Chrome because of I've got so many bookmarks set up. It just when you install another distro, they're up and running straight away. I know Firefox is up to speed on that now.
Yeah, they can import them.
Yeah, I just haven't taken the time to set it up. So, yeah.
But isn't Elementary should be having a new release soon? Aren't they getting close to the next version?
They'll wait till 1804.
Yeah.
Yep.
The betas, I think the first beta is already being played with right now, though. They did a blog post about some changes they've made and and the like.
Juno.
Yeah.
I like the name.
The other thing that with Elementary is they don't have a welcome screen. They don't have anything that sort of helps new users to and for for a distro that that offers pay for this and pay for that, which I've got nothing against. I would have thought they'd be doing those things as good as some of the other distros where they're not asking for payment and stuff. So, just those things niggle me a bit about that. But hey, it is what it is, I suppose.
I haven't played with Elementary lately, but they still don't support PPAs. Is that correct?
Not by default, no.
Yeah.
You can do it. Yeah, you got to install the software common software properties. One of those.
Properties common.
I really don't like the Ubuntu-based distros when they start taking like the good parts of Ubuntu out, because the PPA system is kind of one of the reasons you'd run Ubuntu.
Yeah, it drives me a bit crazy sometimes. Yeah. I'll go to add a PPA and I'll forget. I'll be like, oh, I haven't done this yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I reviewed one distro recently that took Ubuntu as its base and just butchered it. They took apt out of it and did a Pac-Man as their package manager.
What?
They disabled PPAs. They
Which one's this one?
They uninstalled Snapd and wanted to go with app images as their default package. This was Nitrix, and it was horrible.
Oh, Nitrix.
I mean, I couldn't believe they based this thing on Ubuntu and then raped Ubuntu the way they did. It was crazy bad. It makes no sense, because if you're going to do all that, why not base on Arch or Gentoo or something? Yeah. But their software store only had app images in it.
That's all it had. What's app images?
App image, that's another universal format, kind of like a Flatpak and Snap. But there's only like 200 app images in their software center.
Oh my gosh!
And there's probably only about 2 of those that I would use.
Yeah, and you've never heard of any of them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was one of the, and I messaged the developer, and he told me basically he was doing this on principle. He really wanted to support app image. I was like, well, you have no app images to install on your distro. Why did you uninstall Snap? Because snaps are squared away.
Right.
But it's his distro. You do what you want.
It's rough.
That's true.
I see there's a lot of talk about Firefox in the chat too, and I was going to say, the one thing about Firefox that still has not been fixed, we've said it a million times, and I said the same thing. WaterFox basically is based on Firefox, so it's like taking a copy of it with its problems and making it work. You get into a chat in a live stream, and you always have to click out and click back in, click out and click back in every time you want to type something. If you go over to another window. It's like,
you mean like I'm doing right now?
Yeah, it's like that's one of that's been a long-term problem for who knows how long. And why is it that they can't get it fixed?
I don't think I've ever seen this. What's going on with that?
If you were to bring up Firefox and bring up YouTube right now, bring up the show in YouTube in the chat and try to type in it. You click on it to type in it. You type the first time, but then you can't usually type again. You have to click out and click back in it. Or especially if you go to another window and come back to it, you certainly have to re-click outside of it and back in.
Okay. It's actually worse for me. Just clicking outside the window and back in doesn't work. I have to minimize the window on my panel and then unminimize it, and then I can type.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't seem to have that problem, so I don't understand.
Is this Firefox we're talking about?
Yeah. Firefox and YouTube.
What version?
Is built off of Firefox, and it does the exact same thing.
I'm running Quantum. I'm on Manjaro. This is the latest Firefox.
Yes, yeah, I'm running whatever the latest one is.
But just so you know, I'm running Vivaldi right now at this moment, and it's doing the same exact.
It's the same. So it's a YouTube problem. It's a problem with the way they design their site.
Hey, I'm running Chrome here, no problem at all.
Goofy things too.
Well, yeah, because Google product to Google product. Yeah. And they know everything about you. They have your life.
I love it.
Yeah, so does the government, so I'm not worried. the government's got my life as well, and my money and my taxes.
Don't just hand it over, though, Colin. Fight a little bit, will you?
I work hard for it, Rocco.
I distro hop enough they can't tell who I am anymore.
Right.
That's how it works, right?
Just add the GPL to all your emails and, you know, like your Gmails. Just add the GPL at the bottom in your signature. You'd be all right.
Well, we were going to talk about email services on Destination Linux, but we never got to it because we didn't have the time. But they were talking about there's this article talking about Tudonato, I think it is, and it's an encrypted email service like Proton.
Okay.
And you know they have obviously it's encrypted, so when you send somebody an email, you apparently have to get them the password as well. Mm-hmm. So how's that work where you're sending somebody an email, and if all they have is email, how are you going to get them the password then?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what?
Text
well, I guess
you can't use it for like work or anything like that because it's typically machines that are working with this. You can't give the machine the password. That defeats the purpose.
Right. Just a weird setup, man.
Well, I guess they're counting that you know them personally. Maybe you can give them a phone call or something. Hey, I just sent you an email, and here's the password.
But I mean that may be good for one or two things that you do. But I mean, as a regular email service, it's kind of lame.
All right, Rocco.
You have to both log into
write it.
webmail, send each other the password, and then log back out again. And then.
Well, surely they could set up some kind of key system where you give them a key one time, and on their machine it opens your emails or something. I don't know. It seems like a better way than.
Got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Take care of that.
Proton Mail does it.
Just use Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people were talking about, you said, Joe, the browsers in there, and Falcon is going to actually, I guess it's their newest release, just came out the other day.
No, Rocco, that's pronounced Cupzilla. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know. It's pronounced. Is it Quapzilla or is it Cupzilla?
Here we go with pronunciation.
Anyway,
this is another one that needed to change their name too for branding purposes. I'm glad it's Falcon.
Well, okay, it's definitely a better name. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But my question that I asked on Destination Linux, and I ask you guys, is that a draw to use a browser like that, where you have no extensions, nothing, basically, it's just a plain browser?
Yeah, well, I don't use extensions. Oh, well, the only thing that would mess you up is if you're using GNOME Shell, you need to have extension to install extensions.
you ain't lying.
There's a reason I never liked GNOME.
I can't hear you as well.
So you would hit a brick wall straight away using that if you're on GNOME, if you're running GNOME.
Well, all I'm saying is when I'm using Firefox, when I use Chrome, I'm using it because of the extensions. And it's great to have browsers out there so that there's a little bit of competition, so that it's not all just one browser or two browsers. But to me, the draw is the extensions in that. So
I'm still old school. I don't think I ever install any extensions on anything on a browser. I just view the web. That's kind of all I expect it to do.
And Firefox the time disables half of them anyway, half the time. And the only ones I use in here from an extension standpoint is there's a web, it's called Web of Trust. It's basically people who've used different sites and they rate them. Can it be skewed? Yeah, you get a bunch of people that for whatever reason don't like somebody's site, they could skew it, but it is kind of a help to keep from going on a site that might be, less than desirable, that might give you a virus or whatever. And the same thing with the emails. And then I might use an ad blocker from time to time. But otherwise, I don't really use too much for extensions anymore because I find they cause more problems than they help.
Yeah, when they do a big update, like Firefox went to Quantum, I mean, how many extensions did they break? So
right,
most of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So
tons of them, and that's part of the reason why people are trying these other ones like WaterFox and Basilisk, and you know, of course, Pale Moon is so old that, you know.
Well, I think Waterfox is probably even better than Firefox, to be honest with you. In my opinion, I think it works better, except for that same quirk that I have with the chat, and then every once in a while it might have a flash issue where it doesn't like to go, you know, view something on a website or whatever. But
then there are also issues such as maybe, you know, like certain bug fixes and potential security issues, which Waterfox is not going to have because it's an older version of it's using what, 52 or something.
Yeah, let me look at it. I'll see which. I don't remember what it is now.
And so then it becomes a potential security issue.
Yeah, Michael was talking about that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use it for regular browsing. I had it in there. I'd use it maybe for something like this, just to watch a video or whatever. But even at that, I'm not using it that much anymore. But I like the way it works. I mean, I do think it works well. It's 56.04 is what it's up to now.
So back to what you were saying, Rocco, I think Falcon would be good for if you run an XFC. If you're running anything besides GNOME and you don't use extensions, well, then it would have to be a lot quicker, wouldn't you think?
I don't.
If it's got all the ability taken out, or
I kind of agree and I kind of disagree, because I mean it may be lighter, but I don't think it's inherently quicker. Just because I'm not sure what like rendering engine they're using, but I've not found it to be much faster than either Firefox or Chrome. The only thing really has just been resource usage much lower. But I mean, I've run into issues where things like media playback and full screening with Quapzilla. Quapzilla, and they just don't quite work well. It's weird because it's kind of glitchy. I mean, you go to full screen it and it just won't do it. It'll kind of like full screen in the browser window, which isn't the point of full screen. Or in other cases, it just won't do it at all, like it can't. So while I think it's definitely a good option in some cases, I don't think it's particularly as capable as your typical browser. And that would be the most limiting factor beside the extensions.
Yeah, there's just too many browsers. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Epiphany, Midori, Conqueror, all the rest of it.
Yeah,
I like Epiphany, but it is so buggy.
No,
it's just so buggy. There was a bug not long ago where if you would type letters with caps lock, like it wouldn't let you enter or not caps lock, shift. Like if you would shift more than one character at a time into a password box, it would stop entering anything. So you had to like let go of it, click out of it, click back into it, and then do the other letter. And it was the most ridiculous bug I have ever seen.
Well, we can all go back to using the Lynx browser.
Well, I use the Lynx browser, actually. I actually like that one. If you're going to use something that's mostly plain text, Lynx.
Yes, you can't beat it. Cool. It's pretty fast.
Yeah, it sucks for YouTube, though.
Or anything that's got graphics.
Yeah. But if you're just reading a blog, Lynx is great. Yeah.
I can't believe Elementary doesn't have a super key for their menu.
It's you can enable in the G settings.
And then you know, I read on one of the websites somebody said they did that. Then they didn't have their super key, because the super key is assigned to a lot of other shortcuts, right? So all those shortcuts don't work. They said that their shortcuts stopped working after that.
They should be working because that's actually one of the first things I do is I enable the super key hotkey. Right. And all the other shortcuts do still work. I think that issue's been resolved.
Oh, okay. Right.
But yeah, I don't like the super space by default thing. I think it is kind of ridiculous because how many machines really do that by default? Like, how many systems do that? Not very many.
And the fact that so many desktop environments and window managers like to use the super key, I've come up with this problem in virtual machines so many times where I hit a key combination using the super key thinking I'm doing it in the virtual machine and I kill something in my host machine and it drives me nuts. So in the virtual machines, always remember to change that key binding. Quit using the super key. Use the alt key or something else.
What's really strange is the only desktop I've ever, because I'll be in like a virtual machine, and I'll press the super key, and I'll be in full screen, and nothing will move or anything. But if I'm using KDE on the main system, and I press the super key, it like covers everything. It's like, nope, I'm in front. You're in the back.
You know, like in GNOME and Unity and all those, the super key brings up their launchers and dash. And if you're running that on your host machine and you accidentally hit the super key in your virtual machine, then all of a sudden your virtual machine goes away and you get that Unity dash come up. It's like, what in the hell is this? I wasn't trying to do that.
Well, speaking of KDE, I got to get back to that thing you had mentioned about KDE. So okay, so you have Kubuntu and you have KDE Neon. Other than that, you don't have any Ubuntu-based distro that does a good job at running KDE or customizing it. And I don't even know if past Kubuntus qualify for a good job at running KDE, because I was never a big fan of Kubuntu. Now, they've been actually doing some nice work as of late, but that's a problem that Linux Mint's dropping their KDE.
Yeah. I can't speak to the quality of these KDE distros because I'm not a KDE fan, so I'm the wrong person to ask which ones should go away and which ones are nice. I was just saying there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Ubuntu-based distros that run KDE. So,
well, we need a good one.
What's the big difference between any of them? Each one has their minor little, tweaks to it.
Right. And he was asking earlier about SwagArch and Antergos and Manjaro. All of them have an XFCE edition. SwagArch basically has better theming than Manjaro and Antergos. I mean, it's a really nice theme the guy includes. He installs a dock out of the box and all that. But other than that, they're all the same. They're all 100% Arch. You may as well have just installed Arch.
And then, of course, you do updates and it breaks.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking, though? With Kubuntu coming out, they probably will have the minimal install option as well. So that might be like the perfect choice.
Absolutely, because that'll become like Neon, won't it?
Yeah.
Except it's more stable, because your desktop environment's stable, right? So that would be, I agree, it'd be a great choice.
And then you can always add the backports repository as well, so if you eventually in the future do want to update to a later version of KDE, you've got that there.
Right. Okay.
Yep. So it ought to be interesting when 1804 comes out, because there's so many good things. Now, so I'll ask you, when 1804 comes out, what is the first one you're going to download?
Which Budgie edition? To me. I'm going to do the Budgie edition, because I really love the 1710 Budgie edition when I took a look at it. So.
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah, well, I know what you're going to say, Bart. Hold on, Joe. Hold on.
He's muted.
Okay, go ahead now.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was typing. I forget. I got the noisy keyboard that somebody recommended.
You do.
Yeah. No, I said Mate for the way I was kind of laughing, because I'm anxiously going to put MX17 on that Windows drive that's sitting in this machine, but I'm really busting a gut for 1804 Mate, because the dash and all the things they're coming out with in there. I'm just kind of excited about that too, to see it. And the thing is this works for me for what I'm doing, but what I want to do is give MX17 a good full-blown try on this machine, not just a laptop, because I know Run with the Dolphins in the chat, and I just see him popped up there. I don't think he was in here when I was talking the one night about the dual monitor issue I was having. So Dolphin, if you can hear this, I have a 34-inch, which is probably not fair in some ways because the resolution is different on the other one. I've got a 24 sitting here with I think it's 1920 by 1080. This is 3440 by 1440. So I'm actually going to consider going to a 43-inch to kind of eliminate this problem. But I had a wallpaper issue problem with it where I couldn't get, and it's same thing happened on Peppermint at one time where you have two different wallpapers and you go over and you change it. But in MX, it wasn't letting me do that. So I'm curious that if I natively install it on the SSD in here if that'll change things. But overall the distro itself, I love what I see with it. So depending on how it works, I'm probably going to stay dual booting, but it may wind up, and I'm saying this is a maybe, it might wind up become my daily driver because I like the speed of it. It's like lightning quick. And that's just running it off of a live USB. It's lightning quick. So I can only imagine, hopefully what it'll be like on the SSD when I put it in here.
Yeah, MX is solid. I really like playing around in MX too. I considered installing it on my main machine actually, but
that would be the first distro I think that would draw me away from Mate now, and it's a serious consideration. But I still think I'd keep Mate here as a secondary. I just like it. It's just I've gotten so accustomed to it. But it's kind of nice to have that choice on which environment you want to work in. Of course, Colin could attest to this because he's got 22 of them in his machine. So, yeah. Take your pick. I just wondered, what does that do to a grub menu when you see a list pop up with all those, And that's the other thing, like I said, that got quirky the other day. There was some kind of an update that came through, and it said something about the loader, and it screwed up the grub window. The loader, it still works the same, but it got real kind of sporadic. And the other thing is where Michael thinks it might be, I have that the CPU issue where they, where maybe they did the patch and now all of a sudden, because it got really slow at booting. So it'd be interesting to see that if I load MX on that other SSD, if I have the same issue or not, because then I'll know it's not my, my CPU that's been patched if it boots just as quick. So let me see what's he saying. I've been playing with dual monitors lately.
Colin, did you see that question?
Yeah, I did. Barking Bandicoot, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Hold on, Colin. Your mic is a little bit low, brother.
Is that's what?
Yeah, it's been quiet for a while. So
I turned it up before, or is it this automatic thing on Neon again, or KDE that's doing that? It's dropping.
Yeah,
down
KDE messes a lot of things up.
Or is there a?
It does.
Where's the KDE guy that's supposed to be here tonight to fix it?
Is that better? Is that better if I turn that up? Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Much better.
Anyway,
I was running deep end. Yeah, the one he saw my video that I did with the deep end desktop. That was on my daughter's computer, but I've taken it off since. So I'm not running it currently. So yeah, but it was a lot better. It was awesome.
So what did you finally decide to run on for what distro did you give to your daughter to use?
I'm just trying out different things at the moment to see what runs quick, because it's believe it or not, the laptop is only 6 months old, so it's still not a high end spec laptop. So I've actually put KDE Neon on there at the moment, and that's running quite good. But look, if all the 1804s are out, I'd probably stick Ubuntu Budgie on there, because I'm waiting for that to come out, because Ubuntu Budgie is, I reckon, at the moment, probably one of the best so far, I think.
It's really beautiful.
You've been a Budgie fan for a long time, though, Colin.
I have since Solus first came out. I've been because I was following Ike before he even started doing, when he had his original Solus about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, whatever it was. So I've been a fan of his. He does a lot of good things, but I just want to see Budgie 11 come out. I'm really excited about that one, and I don't know when that'll be.
I know you guys like me here because I complain about everything, so I thought
sure.
You've been quiet.
Yeah, I know. I need to complain about something. The one thing that drives me crazy with Ubuntu Budgie is the greeter. It drives me insane.
The welcome screen.
No, the
login greeter.
The login greeter. Yeah.
Login greeter.
Why can't you change it?
Well, you go to set a wallpaper, and it just doesn't really respect any of the proper settings.
It's using light DM, right?
It's the slick greeter, which is more or less like a light DM.
Yeah.
But it just does not properly respect any of the settings. I've done both slick greeter configs, light DM configs. I've gone through the deconf. I've gone through so many other ones, and the only thing that actually solved it was replacing the wallpaper it was using.
Yeah.
which
I've had to do that before. Yeah.
Not okay. That is not okay because no user is going to be able to do that. Just offhand.
It's not just an Ubuntu Budgie problem either. I've had other distros that, like the light DM greeter settings, you go to play around in it, it doesn't change a thing.
It just ignores it.
Yeah.
Yes, I did
only
have that
changes
before.
some settings, but not others.
I thought I was losing my mind. I thought it was just me. I was doing something wrong.
Well, the light DM greeter settings, it acts like you can just pick anything on your system, but on some distros, that picture that you pick actually needs to be in that folder that the other picture's already in. It's /user/pixmaps, whatever it is.
Well, on the contrary, mine's working. I did the slickgreeter.conf and my wallpaper changes. And what I can do is load a whole heap of wallpapers in there and just uncomment the one that I want to use, and it changes. So I don't know. So I don't know why yours doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, the thing is because I've seen it working for some people and not for others.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if the particular file has a certain permissions level that it needs. Maybe
that's really strange.
Yeah, but it's been really problematic, and the reason it's so frustrating is because typically I'll just like on Solus, I'll install like the light DM GTK greeter setting thing and configure it. But in Ubuntu Budgie, you can't actually just install it because it conflicts with something else. So you have to like manually override that to even use it.
Can you still do that in Solus as well? Because I think that's all changed across the board now, isn't it?
In Solus you can, but I don't think it really works the way it used to.
No, I'd like to see that's got to be because they've changed a few things. I reckon they're probably I'm hoping that they're in the middle of making a new greeter in the settings panel. I'm hoping.
I think they are because I've seen in the like the Budgie repos, there's like a Budgie greeter, and it said like not implemented yet in like all caps and like exclamation mark. But
I think it's just got to catch up to the changes, I believe. Yeah, that'll be good if they do that because really everything should be graphical. So you don't no messing around with .conf files because when it comes to giving a new user this one and they come from Windows and they want to change that, it should be a simple process at the end of the day.
That's one thing that drives me nuts about Antergos is because they have that custom greeter. And in order to change the wallpaper for that, you can't just click a wallpaper that you want. You have to actually replace it manually in the file or in the terminal, move it over to that directory.
Yeah, so and a lot of those distros that's giving you a problem. I think it's /user/share/pixmaps. If you move that wallpaper into that directory and then select it in the greeter, it should work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just super annoying.
It must be a hardware. I wonder if it's a hardware thing.
I haven't looked into it. I haven't filed any bug reports or anything. So
I can't
normally
tell
my
where
laptop
the bug lies.
My laptop's normally huge, big troublesome laptop. This one, but it works on there. So I don't know. That's really strange. I just find that really strange.
So, Chicken, you never answered, did you? What?
Oh, did somebody say something?
What flavor of 1804 are you going to download first?
Well, see, Rocco, I've already thought of this because I'm the best, and I'm going to download all of them at once. So
yes, but there's no possible way that you can hit download on all four at the same exact time.
No, Rocco, I have done this before. I've scripted this.
Now but they're not all downloading at the same time.
No, they're not. They won't all be released.
Yeah, they'll take some time. Yeah.
But even if you got them, they were all released. It depends on the order in which you execute that download in your script. So they're not all going to be done at the same time.
Okay, and even so,
I have another plan.
You can't install all of them at once.
Actually, I kind of did this with Lubuntu the other day, like because the 1604.4 testing was being done for like the release for that. So I had like 6 laptops and 3 of my desktops, and I was like, I had a flash drive for each, and I was installing them like all one by one by one by one. So that was nice.
Yeah. So you're not going to make a choice, are you?
Ubuntu Studio is what he's going to go with.
Oh, yeah.
Just say Studio.
Speaking of Studio, are you all brokenhearted that SUSE Studio stopped maintaining its website. It's going to be there just for anybody who wants to get their stuff off, but they kind of terminated the
yeah, well, I got an email.
It's breaking my heart, Joe. It's breaking my heart.
Tell.
I hadn't even heard about it, so that's how shook up I am.
No, they actually up on their studio website, they were saying there was a notification about that a number of months ago.
Yeah.
That this is not going to be maintained, and it's only going to be around for X amount of time later, and that's it.
I started using that. I started using that thing, and then I didn't get around to finishing it, so just didn't bother with it.
It was kind of fun to play with if you wanted to toy around with something that you didn't have to know much to do it, and just.
And you could tailor your install to have just the things that you wanted on it,
right?
Which was kind of fun.
Neat.
Yeah,
you can also do that with which is what EB did, and I think Linux and other stuff. He made a few of his own spins with what's the name of that thing that they used? I can't remember now.
In Ubuntu, it's called what is the name of that tool?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. You can, because I've made my own spin of Mate quite a long time ago.
But there is a tool you can use in Ubuntu. There's also a set of tools you can use in Manjaro, I think, to create your own custom ISOs. So.
Yeah,
it's called the wallpaper and a theme distro maker.
And Arco Linux, Eric Dubois' thing, will have that as well soon. So
it's actually pretty cool.
He will allow you to do that as well soon. So,
hey Rocco.
Yeah.
Kubuntu.
Is that your choice? Is that your final answer?
I think it's going to be very definitive for me. Yeah, because I've not really been a fan of Kubuntu, but it's getting better. It's getting better. This is supposed to be the release that makes it great again. So I'll give it a shot and then immediately install something else.
And don't forget the real bonus. It's going to have Michael's custom, what can you say?
Defaults.
Have his custom defaults on there.
You know what? So, they should include a wallpaper, like one of the side wallpapers where it's just his face. Just all zoomed in and blurred.
Right?
The Ubuntu tool for creating your custom ISO is Cubic. CUBIC, Cubic, yeah.
No, I was thinking of another one, Derek. There's another one I was thinking of. Yeah. Backyard Tech uses it as well, quite a fair bit.
Well, I know Linux and other stuff, the one he's using is Cubic. That's the one he does.
He's using that one. Oh, he's using that one at the moment, but he was using another one before that, and I can't remember the name of it now. It'll come. But the other thing I wanted to say in KDE Neon, I was trying to get, when you right click and you go create new text file or create new LibreOffice, I was trying to find, because in GNOME, all you do is create a blank file in templates, and that comes up in your right click. So I was trying to do that in KDE Neon, failing quite a fair bit. But it was as simple as go into Discover and just type in LibreOffice-KDE, and that's it. It installs all the right-click context menu for you. So I don't know if you knew that.
So
cool. I didn't know that one, but there's all kinds of ones that you can install that are not installed by default, like, for example, the FFmpeg thumbs is not installed, so you don't get video previews on videos that you have on the computer. But if you install that, then you get the video previews.
Yeah, I did that.
And then the same with the PDF. There's a thing to preview a PDF as well. There's a plugin, and you have to install that. So there's all kinds of those little plugins that probably should all be in one pack, so you can get them all at one time.
Just make a big meta package and just install them all.
And another really useful one that I found is a sudo snap install Oh My Giraffe, and
that's definitely a good one.
Pretty good job.
My favorite program here recently is one called Pony Say. It's a picture of a My Little Pony that comes up in your terminal, and it gives you a quote.
So that's cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to install that.
Yeah, well, you really should. It's a very important program.
Mm-hmm.
You have to compile it from source, though. It's not in the repos.
Jeez, oh man. So let me ask you guys about Linux Mint, because Linux Mint has made a lot of changes lately for the better, in my opinion. So if they've made all these changes for the better, why are we still not using it? Most of us.
Are you talking about Linux Mint?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like the Cinnamon desktop. That's why I don't use it. That's
they got other.
Well, they got other desktop environments that you could use, but what I'm saying is they're a stable distro.
Well, you're talking to a Debian guy, so when you say Linux Mint is stable, I'm used to running Debian, so
well,
it's all Michael's fault, Rocco.
He poisoned Linux Mint in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It just when I first came, when I've read about it and whatever, it's like I just there was something about it that did not excite me at all. I don't know what it is.
Here's the thing: if I'm not going to use Cinnamon, why would I use Mint? Though that's kind of like its identity. It's the Cinnamon desktop. Yeah. That's what the developer spent so much time on, is building that Cinnamon desktop. So if I'm not going to use Cinnamon, why am I going to use Mint? I might as well use mainline Ubuntu or even Debian or whatever.
Yeah.
So
well, there's even been like people saying that they should probably just drop the other desktop environments and concentrate all their efforts on Cinnamon.
I think that would be a good idea. Yeah. I thought they were spreading themselves thin early on when they were really focusing on Mate and Cinnamon. They needed to pick one or the other and just run with it.
So, okay. So them dropping KDE, is that a sign going forward that they might slowly drop more?
Maybe. And we were talking about all the Ubuntu-based distros that use KDE. Linux Mint was another one. Yeah, just drop that thing.
I mean, really. I just can't see all the different distros with the same desktop.
Right.
What's the point?
I know a lot of people have mentioned that they would like to see Linux Mint move away from all this Ubuntu-based stuff and go directly to their LMDE environments and use that, which is directly with Debian. So that way you cut out the middleman, because they already have the LMDE in place anyway, which is the Cinnamon and Mate versions.
But then you cut out the PPAs. Yeah.
That would be rough.
You can. Well, depends.
Well, Ubuntu software and Debian software, a lot of it's not compatible. I mean, a deb for Ubuntu and a deb for Debian, sometimes they just don't work in each other's distros. So I don't know.
But they could make it work, though, couldn't they? They could make certain things work. Linux Mint does do that.
It's a big undertaking, though. I mean,
but if they, but it would probably force them to have the two desktops only, which is what their LMDE versions are, is Mate and Cinnamon.
Right.
So if they kept those and concentrated on all of those, they dropped XFCE, right? Then maybe they could focus on getting the desktop up and running to a really good standard. I mean, Linux Mint looks good anyway. They've got a bit of polish about them. Their software center's probably, speaking of software centers, probably becoming one of the better ones at the moment. So
after the makeover, yeah,
it's not bad now. Yeah.
Yep. So maybe they should do that. I don't know. But a lot of people, I mean, you have a look at Markulu Linux. He does a really good job on running the his versions off of Debian. He does them really good. So
he's basing off of Cinnamon too. That Lindo's desktop is basically Cinnamon. So it's not a distro I would ever run, but I actually quite liked it when I took a look at it.
Yeah.
If you're going to run something like Cinnamon, it's not a bad way to go.
And look what MX does with Debian as well. MX Linux, they do a great job with being based on Debian. You can get just about anything you want in there. So I don't see why Linux Mint couldn't do that either.
Well, they could, but it would probably be a lot of work to get all, like MX and Dolphin. They do a ton of work to allow that to be easy for everybody. So Linux Mint would have to take that on. Not that they couldn't do it, but they'd have to want to take that on.
Yeah, I'll tell you something that'll change the game a little bit. More and more as snaps are becoming a thing. Installing software is becoming a lot easier, regardless of the distro you're using. So
And that's the other option they got, isn't it? I mean, if there's if they wanted to change, they just put the snaps in place. Or I think actually they got flat packs, haven't they, Linux Mint? So they use
for some reason, and this is another thing I don't understand about Linux Mint. So that you base your distro on Ubuntu, which has already got snapd installed, and that's ready for snaps. Why are you going to Flatpak, which doesn't have nearly as much software availability as snaps in Ubuntu? That made absolutely no sense. So
yeah, I agree. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, as much as Mint's a popular distro and it has a lot of nice things about it, they do to be blunt, they do a lot of stupid stuff sometimes. I mean, it's just I don't get it. It's foolish with some of the decisions they make. I don't know, and yet people love it. So I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. But I think if it's comes down to just new user, they probably don't.
Well, brand new users are going to search the web and they're going to see something like sudo snap install GIMP to install GIMP and think it's going to work in Linux Mint because it's Ubuntu based. It's not going to work. You know.
That's a good point you raised, Derek. I must say.
Very true.
And I have a soft spot for Linux Mint because I started with Ubuntu. Well, I didn't start with Ubuntu. I actually started with Fedora, to be honest. But I run Ubuntu for the longest time, and then when it changed to Unity, I just couldn't. I liked the Unity desktop. I just couldn't tweak it. So I went to Cinnamon, and that got me through quite a few years. Cinnamon. So I have a soft spot for it. It's always been good. And it's the closest you'll ever get to the way Windows works, and that's why people will like it as well, because it's set that way. So
I belong to a number of user groups in Facebook for Linux, and there's one in particular. It's called Linux Users Group, ironically. But I seen today there were a couple of posts in there, and it seems like it's getting to be more and more with people complaining about the UEFI installs, that they're just struggling with them. This is the way we're going with it. Why is it, if it's supposed to have UEFI support, why is it still such a problem? With doing that you got to switch your BIOS over to legacy just to make it work. It just doesn't.
It's funny you should say that, Joe, because I've just done that because I was installing for a client Linux Mint, and I've already done one of their computers. I did this one. It's a reasonably new one, and it just would not, it did the install, it started up, did the install, did everything, come back and you get to the screen, it says there's basically no operating system there.
Yep.
So yes, I have
to either that or it does a reboot cycle. Is what
and it's not just new users struggling with UEFI. I mean, I struggle with it. So.
Right, that's the point I'm making is why is this at this stage of the game? That hardware's been around for a while. Why is this still such a struggle? That's what I don't get.
Guys, is that a Linux Mint thing? Is it a Linux Mint?
No, because I've had it even on this laptop here, the test laptop. I put it on legacy because I was having trouble with different distros wanting to go in there.
What about just turning the secure boot off and leaving it in the UEFI?
No, it doesn't work.
That's what I've done with the one I'm using now.
I still didn't like it. Matter of fact, this machine was telling me that you couldn't have it both ways. You couldn't do that. If you turn secure boot off, you couldn't.
So it's a hardware problem.
Yeah. So the thing is,
the hardware is being made to prevent that.
I just made a video on this. I just made a video on this, and I just wanted to bring to people's attention. I had an Acer laptop, the one I'm talking about, and to change to legacy, you couldn't change it. You had to actually put a password in the BIOS. You had to set a user password in the BIOS, and then it allowed you to change to legacy. Otherwise, you could not change it. It was grayed out, right? I changed it to legacy. I went back to the security, put the password back in, and left the fields blank, and it resets it again. Otherwise, you'll be prompted to put a password in when you start your computer, right? Every time, right? So all you got to do is just put your current password in, leave the fields blank, and then it'll set it back to clear, and then you won't be prompted for that. It's just all. I think they just lock these things down because they don't want people messing with them. They just want Windows running on there,
They install Windows 10 and they think nobody will ever install anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't want you to call their support line and tell them you're running Linux Mint or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to support it. So.
Nah.
Yeah. So
there's a few reasons I don't really use Linux Mint, and I have a soft spot for it. I mean, I ran it for a good 10 months or so in my first year of using Linux, and I was using XSE for most of that time because I hadn't evolved yet. But but it's little things like when you go to use the terminal for apt, you go sudo apt full upgrade. Well, in Ubuntu and like every other Ubuntu-based distro, you can type sudo apt, and then you can just type the letter F and press tab, and it'll fill it full upgrade. Yeah. Well, in Linux Mint, they've actually removed that auto completion for full upgrade. You can't you have to manually type that out. That is not okay.
This is another thing I talk about, some of these Ubuntu-based distros, removing some of the good stuff from Ubuntu. Yeah. One of the things I really love about Ubuntu-based distros is the hotkey. Control-Alt-T always pulls up a terminal. There are some distros that remove that, and I don't understand what they're thinking.
And you got to put it back in.
Yeah, because I'm so used to Control-Alt-T brings up a terminal.
Well, even when I was running Solus for a while, I ran it for about a month, and that doesn't have the Control-Alt-T for the terminal. Yeah. You have to put it in the key bindings.
No. And that's what I just used. Oh, I'm sorry, Bar. I thought you were done.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's why I actually just went to Gwake and just hit F12, and I reduced the size, dropped it in the middle and the bottom, and it pops up. I do what I got to do, and then hit it again, and it disappears.
I hate the UI of Gwake, though. Like, it is a really ugly drop-down terminal.
What? I'm sorry. What did you say?
The Gwake terminal, it's by default, it is just really like horrendous to look at.
The terminal's not supposed to look sexy, though.
But you could tweak it and change it. And
come on, you can make it look a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, get the pony say. There you go.
Pony. Yeah.
Put that in the bash RC.
Hey, did everybody see Carl's in the house?
Yeah, g'day, Carl.
Yeah. You the man.
Hi, Carl. Hi. He's been very quiet, so.
Did you see my wallpaper?
Uh-oh.
Carl, did you see my wallpaper?
No.
Hold on. I show you.
All right.
Brace yourselves. Drum roll.
Uh-oh.
It should be a Chromebook. You should have the Chromebook thingy.
You know,
funny.
There's only one mistake. It should say I Google. Oh, that's cool.
We had gone so long without Apple Talk, and then this.
and then there you have that. So
you know that, like I said the other day or last week, English Bob, if he brings him up in the video, he still calls him Das Google. It's like I love it. I think it's awesome.
Well, if he hadn't gotten the Chromebook, we wouldn't be calling him that.
Yeah. Well, as Mr. Chicken here says, I have evolved. I'm thinking I was waiting to hear the magic. We haven't heard it 45 times like any other week. I3.
So, yeah.
I know. Isn't that nice?
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, it had to be mentioned, didn't it? Eh?
Yeah. Joe, you had to mention it.
I was talking to Matt.
We were on a roll, Joe. We were really on a roll.
His ears are ringing. He's coming.
Tiling window managers have been around for decades, and this guy's just figured out how to use one. So he's so excited about it too.
Oh, I was talking to Matt in Telegram earlier. I brought up I3. I said, "Yeah." I said, "The rest of us are peasants."
Yeah. Hey, I'm a peasant. What do you want?
It's basically putting a mask on, something you want to hide. I think. I don't know.
Speaking of
the guy that has to use an
XOCE, and he decided to cover it up.
Well, you learn things in Linux. So what you were just saying, Chicken, before about the app -f, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah,
depending on what shell.
Yeah.
In every other one, it works, but they've removed it from there, and that's just one of the I know that their target market typically is like new Linux users or people coming over from Windows, right? They're really good at that. That's kind of what they do. Except the first thing that happens when you install it and you go to you have updates and stuff. The first thing you get is a prompt that kind of insists that updates are dangerous. First of all, which coming from Windows, you do not want to see something like that. Right?
True. I agree.
That upsets me because I think they're disservicing their users by somewhat portraying updates as dangerous. That's not good. And then making them choose a level of, you know, break your computer, don't break your computer, which they shouldn't have to do. That shouldn't be necessary.
I totally agree with that, mate, to be honest. I mean, it's okay if I'm installing it for somebody. They would never know that anyway.
Yeah.
But because I always choose the highest level of security, which is install everything, right? Yeah. Always. And I've never had Linux Mint break on me with that. And I've got a few people running Linux Mint.
You're never going to have Linux Mint break on you. That's why the whole security level thing doesn't make any sense. You're running Mint. This is not Gen 2 where you really need to pay attention to what you're about to upgrade. You know, this is Mint. Just take all the upgrades. You know.
Yeah. Yes, but they take that. They make normal users very leery about upgrading. Updating that you wouldn't even have that question if you were in a regular Ubuntu-based distro. Like, you know, I've had people say to me, hey, oh, well, I don't want to update that. That's a 5.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. If you were on Ubuntu, you wouldn't even know that that was a 5. There is no 5. It would just be updated.
You would probably have it set to automatically update in the background anyway, where you don't even see that thing.
Yeah, it's a shame. And that's what I'm saying. It kind of like puts that it scares people when they do it that way, and I don't think they get that.
Yeah. See,
I don't know.
Otherwise, ooh, what was that?
What was that? Who was that?
I heard that too.
Yeah, I did.
Don't know.
Go on,
anyway.
What were we saying?
Anyway, go ahead.
What were you saying, Chicken? I don't know. You were saying something before that.
Oh, is that otherwise? Like, there's very few things that like I kind of don't really like about it, right? For the most part, I think it's great. But it's those few things that are significant enough to drive me away from it and make it hard for me to suggest it to anyone else.
That's a fair call, I must say.
Well, and you know, Michael painted such a picture of Mint in my mind now. I always think of it as the Frankenstein distro, the way he made it sound. It's like the
yeah, I know.
You know,
I imagine those the old war posters.
Huh?
The old war posters with like the
yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, I don't see the back end. I don't know too much about how all that stuff works. Michael obviously does, but you know, the way he puts it, it sounds like it's all messed up, but it does work. So,
well, one of the things he said before was that if you add a PPA to Linux Mint, it has the same app in its repository, in its main one, it will still default to the main one, even though you added the PPA. It'll override it. So that's kind of like messed up, man.
I didn't think that, like, I was doubtful of that, like, because it didn't make sense to me how something like that would happen. So I tried it, and yeah, that does happen.
Well, the other thing he did too is he talked a lot about its security flaws. That's the other thing that would be enough to scare you off of it too. If you hear somebody talking about it, that it's, you know, got so much risk to it. You know, I never had a problem with it when I was on it. As a matter of fact, I even think the Mate version ran in some ways better than Ubuntu Mate for me.
The security flaws they're probably a little overblown. I mean, we're all running Linux Mint. If you're running Linux Mint as a desktop, I mean, you're not running it as a server. I mean,
right.
You know.
Yeah.
I was and Ubuntu. You know, I've been running Ubuntu for quite a while now, the 1804, and I have not once put an extension in there. But I thought, and I was looking at the daughter's computer, and these things just refresh your mind about how things work. And I thought, well, if she wanted to run that, she's not going to want that menu that pops up with all the icons. She's going to want a standard menu. And I've tried to put that in, and then your activities thing doesn't work. And you know, it's sort of like just doesn't play nice with their dash to dock. You know what I mean? It just seems like the dash to dock that comes with Ubuntu's taken over everything. And I think if you're going to run GNOME, you're better off to run Ubuntu GNOME.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you have that flexibility.
Did you see the comment that Run with the Dolphin put in there? He says you can set priority levels in Debian repos so that it's priority then version. And it's also possible to set certain repos like Debian backports to never install without explicit command, which that doesn't get explained very often. And I think that's part of the problem too, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty rough.
Good point. Very good point.
You can always hold packages back that you want. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that, you know, if you go into some of these distros when you load them up, a lot of people don't think to go in and look at the settings to see, like Peppermint as an example, has every box checked all the way down the line. And if people don't understand what they are, all you got to do is look at them by colors. You know, you've got green, yellow, you know, then you got orange and red, and, you know, and basically red being bad, you know, and if you just read it, it'll tell you what they are. But by default, they have all of that checked to be active. You know, who wants to really be putting something in it when you see it says potentially could harm your system?
And you know, another thing I think that holds Mint back a little bit, I've talked about how it's really Cinnamon is kind of its defining feature. The Cinnamon desktop environment looks like it's unfinished. I mean, they've been working on this thing like 8 years now, and it just has this unfinished quality to it. Like they started it and they just never got around to, you know, polishing the rough edges. I don't know. That's just my take.
Yeah, no, you're right, because I'll tell you what annoys me in Cinnamon is when you add things to the favorites in the menu just keeps growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have like a little thing where you can, like, it stays the same size and you can scroll down or anything. It just keeps growing and growing. That's annoying.
When you look at Cinnamon and you look at a much younger project like Colin's favorite Budgie, I mean, the Budgie desktop environment is gorgeous and it looks like it's a finished product, even though it really isn't. You know, first impressions, I mean, that they mean something. You know?
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
Well,
I agree.
I used Cinnamon for a while. It was actually my main distro for, I would say, at least 6 months, and I liked it, but I ended up going with. There was always something. Okay. So like you had said, Derek, I'm a tweaker.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
I would always add either some type of applet or something, and at the time I didn't realize it was the actual applets that were crashing Cinnamon, but their store was so a mess. Like their applets were so a mess that you know you had this ability to install these things, but you had no idea that it was breaking everything in the background. And I'm thinking Cinnamon's crashing, and it's really these new menus I'm putting on or these new applets that I'm putting on.
It's the third-party stuff that's crashing on you.
Yeah.
So
one thing Cinnamon should do is they should get hold of that configurable menu and sort that out and use it as their default, and you can change as many menus as you like, because that thing was awesome, and now I believe it's just not maintained or that at all.
Actually, I think what they really should look into is go ahead and using that Makulu menu. We talked about Makulu Linux. I actually like
the configurable.
Yeah, I really like that thing.
Menu. Yep. Yeah, it's
I
good. I think he's actually.
Are you insulting my menus? Are you guys telling me that the Cinnamon menu's not adequate for you?
The Cinnamon menu, the default Cinnamon menu, is terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah,
the tragedy.
I mean, when you look at the default menu system in Plasma and you look at the default menu system in Cinnamon, it's night and day.
It's crippled.
I mean, and I hate the Plasma desktop, but their menu system is so much better.
It's crippled.
Yeah.
So, is it Humor or is it Wintelburst? Do you have your mic working yet, brother? He's on. Hold on, I've unmuted him. Try it now. Is your mic working? No, you must have it on the wrong Zoom
the wrong
thing.
settings. Yeah.
So if you go down to the bottom left where the microphone is, you got it?
Now better.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, perfect.
That's with my webcam mic.
Okay. So is it Wintelburst or is it Humor?
Both.
Both. Okay. So
Humor is okay.
Humor's okay. So what's going on, man?
Quite nice. It's 7 a.m. here, and I'm wondering where's my coffee, but well.
Hey, It's 12:20 at night, and I got coffee, so we're good.
Hey, Rocco, do you guys still have mugs? You could plug right there. Come on.
Yeah. That'd be a good plug.
Yeah.
Missed an opportunity, man.
All right. See, you need a Destination Linux mug. That's what you need.
Where can I get that thing?
You can get that at teespring.com/Destination Linux Podcast.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good.
That was pretty quick, Rocco.
If you go to destinationlinux.org, you can find all the info out you want.
I'm going there as soon as the stream is done.
There you go. Well, Humor, you just got here, dude, and the stream's going to be ending soon, so.
No, that's
Is
okay.
it that time already?
Well, it's not quite. I mean, it's 12:22, so we got a couple more minutes. So,
Gee.
what are you bringing up, Colin?
No, nothing.
Dog in the picture. He looks tired, dude.
Yeah.
He is tired.
We're putting him to sleep with all this boring talk.
I know, right? Who wants to talk about computers?
Yeah, too much
Yeah, we
Linux talk.
do.
More Apple talk.
We do.
Dolphin's leaving.
Oh,
See you,
no.
Dolphin.
Later, man.
See you, Dolphin.
Well, Anna, I have this mug up here, and it's huge. It's the Big Daddy mug.
Oh, the Big
I
Daddy
know.
mug.
One.
Mm-hmm.
The best one.
Was that custom made?
No,
Yeah.
it was funny because my brother came home the one day, and he says, "I got you something," and they opened this up, and my dad walked in and said, "Hey, we got you this mug," and I open it up, and it's that mug. It says Big Daddy. Now, can you believe this like that? I've never seen a mug like that before in my life. It just happens to be there.
Rocco, I wanted to talk to you about your branding. Instead of Big Daddy, you need to get with the times. How's B Diddy sound to you?
B Diddy.
B Diddy.
well, we kind of got that when with this show, so it's Biddle.
Okay, Biddle.
So-
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
So, what are you guys going to be doing this week? What's on the agenda? Colin, what are you going to install this week?
Well, I said I was going to hop last week, but that didn't
I know,
happen.
but you
Yeah.
didn't.
Well, I do on my test laptop here, but on my main, I don't like to hop too much because, you like to have it stable. So KDE Neon's working for me pretty well at the moment. But like I said, I'm trying out, what's it called? Elementary. So, and I might try out a few. I was trying out Mate, but since the software boutiques disappeared, I'll wait. Maybe I have to download a new ISO or something for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I might try out the daily build of Mate.
They're
So,
looking good.
I don't know if
Yeah,
you guys saw the big news on Distro Watch, but Linux from Scratch has a new release. Linux from
Yes,
Scratch
it does.
8.2. So, yeah, I've actually had viewers ask me about that, and I was like, I'm not going to spend 3 weeks installing something and then cut the video down to under an hour and then have 20 people watch the thing because nobody's going to be interested in it. So,
we leave that stuff to Dusk Gregor, don't we?
yeah.
Yep. Yep. All the Gen 2 and stuff. Yeah. We can
Yeah,
do
he's
that to
not
him.
running Gen 2, is he? He's running Linux from scratch, isn't he? I'm pretty sure. He installed that. I think he's still running it.
I know he spent a lot of time on Gentoo.
I just
I think
hope I
changed
can
it up.
someday install Gentoo to something that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
Gen
and
2
This is a little
Oh,
bit
sorry.
too lazy for that. Raspberry Pi 3.
Raspberry? Is that what that is? What?
So, what do you use it for, dude?
I don't know. That's the thing. Maybe for learning mostly.
Yeah.
for learning.
Yeah.
That's a thing with when you're installing stuff and playing around with things. You just learn so much, I reckon. Just doing that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, bright
Well,
side,
you know-
you never-
Did you, when they download the ISO for Mate, why is it just called Bionic? I mean, why isn't it?
They all are. They all are.
Yeah.
I have to make folders so I know which one's which because they're
Yeah.
all called Bionic.
And they're
Because
not
it's in the-
dated, and it's
it's
confusing.
because it's the daily build.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
So yeah, even in my menu, I have to remember which partition, SDA2 or SDA5 or 6 or whatever. I have to remember which one's on which, because
that's what I'm saying, because that could get so confusing. you want to load up. Let's say you want to load up, the current GNOME or whatever, which I would never do, GNOME, or you want to load up MATE. They're all named the same. It's like, it's like, you want to
just make folders. Just put them in folders and name the folder, stick it in there, so you know. That's what I do, because I've got about 3 of them on my desktop on my hard drive at the moment, so I need to know which one's which.
Right.
So I might. Does the I thought that the nightly build state, they keep up to date, don't they? Or is there a point where you really need to re-download it or what? I don't know.
I think the point where I typically I go from being on like the daily live builds or the nightly builds to stopping and reinstalling is from when the first beta hits, and that's when so I go through like all the stuff and then the feature freeze, and then when the first beta hits. Wait, no, he's chewing on my headphone. Okay, that's typically when I reinstall.
Okay. Or is it when the software boutique disappears, you download a new one?
Yeah, usually when that happens, Colin, it's a sign you need to download it.
I just wait for the kernel panic and then...
The kernel panic.
Yeah, I was going to say, with all this learning by, installing and using Linux and whatnot, you don't ever have to install Arch. You can just install Ubuntu 100 times and you'll get it.
Yeah. And I tell people that sometimes if you want a rolling release on Ubuntu, just stay on the development release. It's like Arch itself, a lot worse. I mean, it's a lot more buggy. It's rough. Yeah.
That's pretty bad, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so last year at this, I guess it was around this time, I was running Arch for a while, and I had run Manjaro and I had run Interrogos, but there always seemed to be some issue. So it's not like Arch is so unstable that, every day it's going to break. Mm-hmm. But
you can expect it about every 2 months, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
maybe even a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
At times, depending on your hardware or whatever. But it's not like it was going to break, and it ran great. It was just those times that, where it did break, it was very frustrating. And
it was severe.
I was like, no, I can't do this. So
and it's the same for all rolling releases. I've tried them all. Same thing with Gentoo based distros, Debian SID based distros. They all break. There's nothing you can do about it.
I have to say that Eric's Arch merge is very good, very stable. It's been really easy, and if something is problem, I just go and Google it.
Yep,
everything's there.
That's good to know.
And it's a great system too. I mean, he's customized it to the hilt, man. It looks awesome.
It's awesome.
I haven't tried his distro yet. Maybe I should try that.
Well, there shouldn't be any difference in the new one compared to the old one. It just should be the name change. So the question is, does he need to resubmit it to DistroWatch? Now that he got on DistroWatch finally with the Arch merge, does he need to resubmit it to DistroWatch under Arco? Or does it just flip over with the name and it just stays in position?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll just change the name. I mean, it's the same distro.
Yeah, you'd have to think so, wouldn't you?
English Bob, I started to say earlier, he ran the other day to the stream. He was doing this trucking, and he actually did an Arch merge test and it actually looked on our end, and most of us that were watching, like it actually was a little bit, even slightly better quality than his Peppermint. But then he also tried, oh God, what other ones? He was tried 2 or 3 of them. What was the one you asked about earlier? To Swag.
Swag Arch.
Yeah.
Swag, and then there was another one, I can't remember, but he did some quick, but I do know when I happened to come into the stream, he was fighting with getting VirtualBox to run in Arch merge. That was the only complaint he seemed to have. He was struggling with it, and I don't know how long he was struggling with it before I came in, but even when I was there, it took him a little bit to get it figured out. So I don't know what the problem was there, but that was the only thing that I knew that he really kind of struggled.
Well, talking about all these Arch-based distros, what really separates Arch Merge or now Arco Linux from the rest of the pack really is Eric, his YouTube channel. That's a game changer. I mean, how many hundreds of videos does he have on his distro? That's something that nobody else has.
Yep.
True.
Well, you see, there's a new release coming. Actually, the first release of Chicken Linux, and there's going to be
When can we expect that one?
of videos.
i3 or what's it running?
Yeah, what's it based on?
It's an exact clone of Ubuntu.
Different wallpaper.
Different wallpaper.
Every icon replaced with chicken.
All chickens all over the place.
Oh my goodness!
So it won't be K Runner; it'll be Chicken Runner. Is that right?
Yeah.
Runner. Yeah.
So instead of like Puppy Linux, when it barked at you for the first time it loaded up, yours will quack at you.
Hey, actually, funny story about that.
The package manager, Quackman.
Quackman. When I was with Cinnamon, I would change the startup sounds.
I have to say that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Homer.
Yeah, well, I would have to say that the time shift, actually, it's quite ass saver. Because if Arch goes bad, you can just deal back easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just hoping you have the thing to valuable just like done in 5 minutes before. Poof.
Yeah, everybody says you should always back up your system. I never do. I forget most of the time. Some people say you should make 2 backups. You should back up the backup. I just live on the edge. If my system went down right now, I'd lose everything.
I have backup server, but the power supply is about like afterburner soonish because it's so old. It's like from 2004 or something.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with Linux, even if your system goes down, you just put a live disk in, connect up a USB, and you can just transfer everything over. You can do that. But, you know, this is what I say. I run with a data partition. So if anything breaks, I can just reinstall. I'm up and running again and just do the links, reestablish the links or don't have links. It doesn't matter. You can just reinstall whenever you want and you're up and running again. That's the best way to run it, especially if you're running Archbase anyway.
I've technically been very lax with backups and whatnot. It's only really recently in the past like 6 months or so, I started doing everything like manually backing up, you know, using like tar and PXZ, stuff like that, and, you know, offloading it to one of the servers at home. But now I've finally bought into this madness that is automation and just use like Deja Dupe or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So far, it's been working really well, so I might stick with that.
I have one Deja Dupe and I forgot the encryption key. I shouldn't have encrypted that one.
Oh my gosh!
There's something like 400 gigs of history.
Oh man, that is no good.
Yeah.
That is no good.
Wow.
You really run into a problem on these installs when you choose encrypt your home folder and all that. Because if you ever want to, you know, restore, you know, you can run into some problems.
I never do that. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. I'd
No, I
rather
don't
take
either.
the chance.
Carl, you got a lot of stuff that you save, like your artwork and everything. What do? You put it up in the cloud, or you back it up somewhere, or what? Hold on, man. You're muted or something.
He's all Google all the time.
Just his mic's not working.
It was working.
I know.
Yeah.
He may have muted his microphone.
How's that? Does that work?
That's better. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I save a lot of stuff to my Google Drive, and then all my PNG folders files go to DeviantArt, and then I save everything else on just an external drive.
So you got a couple ways you back up stuff.
Yeah, I've lost a lot of things in the past.
Yeah, it's no good, man. It's
Carl,
no good.
can I just say that, like, mad props to you for all the stuff that you do, like, amazing.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, using PNG files, because I think it is by far the best image format. So, yes.
I like them. Yep.
Oh, yeah, my favorite.
He did the artwork for the channel, man.
I'm sorry, Rocco, what did you say there?
I said he did the artwork for the channel.
Did he
That's
now?
what I said. Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Nice.
I remember when gosh, how long ago was it when you guys first switched like branding, because before it was like a penguin like gimped onto like a.
Yeah, that was by somebody else. I won't tell you who that was. I mean, that must have been a loser that made those first ones.
But at first I was like, wow, this is really good. And then you guys were like, it was done by our friend Carl Schneider. And I was like, well, that explains it.
Yeah.
That explains it.
I'm working on some stuff for Arch Labs right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll see how that goes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I think Carl's work's awesome. I got your shortcut and Charlie Henson's on all my videos anyway.
Yeah, Charlie's the man.
Nice.
Yeah, Charlie and Carl. I put their shortcuts on all my videos and Destination Linux and whatever. Whether people click on it or not, but I think it's worthwhile if one or two people get a hold of your link, it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you, Colin.
No worries, mate.
All right, it's that time. It's witching hour. It's time to go. It's last word time. So, Colin, what's your last word?
Well, this week I'm just going to give myself a plug and call it PCTLC.
Tuxdigital.com/PLC.
Something like that. I can't remember that one.
He's absent tonight. No plugging.
Yeah, Joe?
I will finally boot up and load MX17 in here. I've been talking about it way too long, but by next week, if everything goes well, I'll be. I think I'll try the show on that next week.
Nice.
Cool.
Good.
Derek, what's your last word, man?
I'm going to try to channel Richard Stallman a little bit. Value your freedom or you will lose it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Chicken.
If nothing does something, something do nothing.
Is that Richard Stallman too?
It's too late for that kind of stuff, man. Carl, what's your last word, man?
Last word is get out and test Solus KDE. Donate. Got to be a patron to test it, but it's been really, really good.
I do got to test it because I have it on my hard drive and I haven't done anything with it. So I do got to test that. Hoomer,
Well,
last word.
I think I'm going to make a few videos and drink some coffee.
There you go.
Drink a beer.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I like beer, yeah.
There you go.
Too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
7:30 in the morning.
I'll second that.
That's okay. It's better at the morning, you know?
Well, next time you'll have to get here a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I know.
So
Like when they talk about that, I say somewhere in the world it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I was
somewhere.
I was planning to come here at the start, but I ended up fixing with Audacity and Canadian Live and do stuff, and then it was 7 something.
that's time consuming. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Last word is check out Destination Linux episode 60 coming up Monday. Check it out.
Also, last word for the dog here. Here we
Okay. He's not saying nothing, dude.
He's pretty
So
silent.
cute.
Be quiet.
All right.
Camera shy.
Thanks for everybody showing up, and we will see you next week on Biddle.
Peace, guys.
See you guys. See you later.
Guys.